My name is Rayen, and today let's talk trash. Now, given the rising affluence of Singapore, we actually naturally just start to dispose more and more waste each year. So, according to these statistics published by the NEA, the amount of trash that we have been disposing each year have been rising almost exponentially. Now, if we follow this trend, in 2018 we will be disposing about twice as much waste as we had in compared to 15 years ago. Now, one of the reasons why Singaporeans are not doing much with regards to waste is because of how well government manages waste in Singapore. Now consider this, for most of us living in HDB, all we do is that we go to our kitchen, we open up the bin, we put the trash inside, and then we close it, and done. Everything is none of our business already. So, what actually happens behind the scene? Now, what our government do is that they collect the waste, incinerate it, and ship it to this island, the Semakau landfill, several kilometers away from Singapore. So, you may be thinking, yeah, that's great, right? Out of Singapore, so out of sight and out of mind. Well, not really. According to the statistics published by the MEWR, the Ministry of Environment and Water Resource, this island, costing about $37 million for the newest expansion, only lasts till around 2035. Now, $37 million for about 20 years of waste is not really sustainable. And consider this current expansion only cost $37 million because of how there are already 2 islands in place. So all the government need to do is to actually cordon off this area. But the next time we want to expand, it wouldn't be so easy. Consider also that 20 years means that by the time we die, within our lifespan, we will be seeing 3 more of such islands being built. Now, not only is that physically impossible, we also destroy lots of corals and marine creatures underneath each time we do an expansion. So, what can we do to prolong the lifespan of this landfill? Today, my group will be focusing on talking about how we can recycle to reduce the waste that we throw to the landfills. We will be focusing on 2 aspects of recycling. First is recycling food waste, and the second is recycling right. So, Jazreel, what can we do about reducing food waste?
Food waste is one of Singapore's primary environmental concerns. Did you know that 791 million kg of food waste were generated in 2016, of which less than 15% of it were being recycled? The general population in Singapore lacks social awareness regarding this issue. It is crucial and essential to know that food waste not only takes up landfill spaces, but also contributes to global warming when accumulated at landfills, as it produces methane, a greenhouse gas that causes global warming. Ideally, all of us would want our future kids or grandkids to be able to live comfortably on Earth. However, this impacts brought about by food waste threatens the well-being of our environment as well as that of our future generations. As such, we should do our part to do something and to preserve it. And here's how we can start. We usually have many food products that have already passed expiration date by the time we come across it. These unnecessarily contribute to the food waste that is being generated. As such, we should at least filter through our cabinets at least once every month to sieve out products that are close to expiration and donate them to food bank. You may wonder, what is food bank? Food bank is a non-profitable organization that focuses primarily on collecting food surpluses and redistributing it to those in need in hope to reduce food waste. Apart from food banks, there are many organizations that share the same sentiments as them, such as Food from the Heart and Reading Hearts. If every household is able to contribute and share the motto of these organizations, I believe that food waste in Singapore can and will be largely reduced. So Jen, I remember Rayen mentioning something about recycling. Can you tell us more about it?
Why yes, I did. Come, let me educate you. So, contamination of recycling is one of the most underrated issues in Singapore, mainly because no one really knows that it's a problem. So let's understand the problem. Contamination just means when you put something that isn't supposed to be there into a bin that is supposed to be there. But in other words, recycling contamination occurs when items that do not belong in a particular bin are placed in that bin. So I'm from SAFE, NUS SAFE, which is the biggest environment group in NUS. And according to a study that we did in Raffles Hall, the biggest contaminant of recyclables is actually food waste, where people leave their food in their plastic containers and they place it into the plastic recycling bin. So why should you care about recycling contamination? Firstly, the food waste and actually in general populace, soil diapers have been known to be placed there. So all these contaminants do attract rodents, and they do bite into the bags and make the recyclables non-recyclable anymore because of the contamination. Secondly, a lot of people have the misconception that our recyclables are sorted by machines, when actually there are real live human beings sorting our recyclables. So they are the ones who have to deal with all our rotting food, the potential rodents, the soil diapers, and everything else that we place in there because, as Rayen mentioned, out of sight, out of mind. And thirdly, I suspect that this may be the most important factor to you. All of these factors contribute to the fact that more money is needed to wash and clean the recyclables as well as to get rid of the pests, which is contributing to your taxpayer money. Your money is being used on these unnecessary things. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are sorting through our trash. I have some items here, and just by a show of hands, maybe we can see how well we know the recycling system in Singapore. So, glassware. Can this be recycled or not recycled? So how many people think that this can be recycled? Yes, you're correct. Good job. How about food containers such as these? I mean, they're plastic, right? You should be able to put them in the plastic containers. So how many people think that these are recyclable? Actually, in NUS, you're not supposed to put these into the recycling bins because the recycling bins are tailored to PET bottles, which are just purely your drink bottles, and a lot of times the food in these containers is not cleaned properly, and therefore it's a little bit of a different kind of plastic. Additionally, this specific kind of bottle, cup, is thin plastic, so it's a bit more difficult to recycle, and as of now, Singapore has not reached the point where we have enough sorting of our recyclables where this is possible. How about straws? Plastic straws. Who thinks this is recyclable? They are not recyclable. In actual fact, when you dispose of plastic straws into your trash, there is the chance that they end up in ocean landfill, and they do end up inside the bodies of our marine animals. Aerosol cans. Who thinks this is recyclable? Funnily enough, it is recyclable, and not many people know that it is. So yeah, we have these aerosol cans that everyone is just throwing into the trash because we think that pressurized air not safe, right? But actually it is. Singapore does have this technology. What about things like tissue paper and plastic spoons? This should be fairly easy. We all know that these aren't recyclable, right? So note, do not put these into your recycling bin. Shampoo bottles are all recyclable as well. And lastly, a lot of people make the mistake of putting paper cups and chopsticks into paper recycling bins because paper is made from wood, assumption, but you should not put these into your recycling bins. So what I have here is what my alternative is for a plastic straw, which is a glass straw. It's broken, but I still use it. And it's a good alternative to this straw because of the fact that you can reuse it and the fact that you can see the inside of it. So as opposed to a steel or a bamboo straw, you know, you can keep it clean easier. So that was a fun little game that we just played. Yeah, so about other not so common recyclables, well, a lot of us live in HDB flats and we find that it's really difficult to get rid of food waste. And I would like to suggest that the alternative that you use is that you make your own compost box at home. It doesn't take that much space and the materials that you need are really, really affordable. Additionally, if you don't want to have this in your house, you can work with your local community gardens to arrange some sort of a recycling compost program, which a lot of HDBs have. And other more common recyclables that people are not really aware of are Canon's ink cartridges, which you can find in a lot of public libraries. So you can just empty out the cartridges and drop them into the box. These clothing brands, H&M, Levi's, and Uniqlo also work with cloth recycling industries in the marine biology sector of Singapore. So they turn the unusable clothes into rags for the machinery industries. Additionally, MAC, a lot of the girls here, you know, I see are wearing makeup. MAC does give you a free lipstick for every 6 empty MAC products. And lastly, you can refer to our blog site for my colleague Rayen's in-depth article about e-waste, which is essentially Singtel and StarHub's collaboration, where you can find all these boxes and dispose of your e-waste in a very sustainable and responsible way. So, Rayen, can you summarize what we talked about today?
Thank you. So, reducing food waste and recycling, right? These are just some of the things we can do to ensure that our landfills are sustainable. So, I'm sure none of us want our country to end up like the neighboring city, Manila. Well, this city, also another metropolitan city like us, is now facing this trash problem. And just imagine living in a place where you step out of your house and then you just see trash several meters away from where you live and where you work. So let us do the little things to ensure that Singapore remains this clean and green city that we know about. Thank you. Now, are there any questions from the audience? We would love to answer them.
So things like the aerosol can have the plastic cover and then the sort of like cylindrical thing. So is it best to separate them into two different, or just dump them together in one bin?
Honestly, in Japan they do separate them, but right now it is a bit inconvenient to ask all Singaporeans to separate them. But the best thing you can do is to separate them. So it really depends on what your lifestyle is like and whether or not you have the time to do that. But yeah, it's better to separate them. Also, actually, a list of like a really comprehensive list of what you can and can't recycle can be found on zerowastesg.com. So you just have to go to their website and they have complete list, which is actually where I got my sources from in terms of whether or not things can be recycled.
Hello? Is this bag also?
Yeah, it's okay, like the camera cannot see this, but my bag is actually from Cambodia and it's made from old Cambodia exports a lot of cement from Vietnam. And so it's made from old cement bags and they just upcycled it.
Yeah. Because you know in Vietnam, right, there was a time that, because these are Vietnamese.
Yes.
So that's why I noticed that. Because there was a time, I think around like last year, this become a like new trend of fashion.
Yeah.
Like suddenly a lot of bags and stuff like this are recycled. Yeah, it looks very nice.
Yeah. You should totally buy it if you go to Cambodia or Vietnam.
Question?
Alright, let's thank this group. Thank you.